Well, for those of you who are Searchers fans, you'll have recognised that introduction in that first line. I'm very pleased to welcome John McNally of the Searchers to the programme. Good evening, John.
Good evening to you.
How are you this evening?
Very good, not too bad.
I'm glad we managed to get you to the phone eventually.
I nearly forgot.
As long as you don't forget to come up to Dunfermline and Saturday.
No problem there.
I take it you've got somebody who makes sure you get there.
Yes, it's me.
It's a busy time for you at the moment.
Yeah, it is. Basically, we're always constantly on the road, the Searchers, and we're basically a working band, really. I mean, that's where it's our job, and it's this year we've done Australia 6 weeks, and we've done Denmark, along with our one-nighters around the UK, and then in a couple of weeks' time we're off to New Zealand. So we're constantly on the move, and we have our holidays like everybody else, but I think out of most of the bands that we know of in the 60s, we're the most work bands, I think, because we had all the hits around all these territories around the world.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually doing a bit of calculation today when before we come on. I reckoned from the website that you've got something like 96 gigs already scheduled between now and the end of the year. Yeah,
it's right, and funny enough, I've got in fact, I had the agent on before the 2015 date sheet. He was putting Australia back in again, and a few other things, and another tour. So it's another. I mean, Frank and I always think, well, when are we going to retire? And when I say, well, hang on, Cliff's still doing it, and Marty Wilde's still doing it, and Joe Brown is still doing it, Paul McCartney's still doing it, and the Stones are still doing it. So why?
And as long as you're enjoying it, I suppose that's the main thing.
Then basically that's why we do it. We do enjoy it. We do all get on well, and that's basically because we all live, all our private lives are separate. I mean, the lads live down south, I still live in Liverpool. So we don't see each other until we do the gig.
Right, okay. So you don't get a chance to fall out then? Cause that's
it. That's what happens in bands, and lucky there's no egos in our band, so that's no problem either.
Because this is Frank's 50th year with the band, isn't it?
It is, yeah. He's a new boy. Yeah, 50 years. 64 he joined.
Yes.
So, in fact, in a couple of weeks' time will be his anniversary. He joined. The first gig was Coventry. So yes, he's been with us nearly 50 years. And Spencer's been with us 28 years.
So, I mean, you obviously get on.
Oh, yeah. Well, as I say, I mean, he lives down by Heathrow Airport, and I'm a Liverpool lad and always come home, so we get on, and we like chalk and cheese. He likes the, what can you say, the theatre land life. I'm not too bothered with that. I'd rather go and play five-a-side with the lads, so we are chalk and cheese, and it works.
I was just going to say, I mean, 50 years working with Frank.
Yeah.
I mean, I must admit, I've seen you guys on stage a few times, and Frank's an interesting personality at times.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's very show busy.
He loves it, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he enjoys it, and I take the piddle, of course. which you do, and he's always been in show business. He always loves it, and he likes the whole scenario. He likes the applause. He likes the adrenaline. He just likes the job,
Which is a great thing. I mean, as I say, I've seen you a good few times now.
Yeah.
And I thoroughly enjoy the show. But for maybe somebody who hasn't kind of taken the plunge and go and see how does the show form these days, the kind of solo or the band tour rather than maybe the revival tours that you do?
The revival tours are fine, but we do like our own solo thing because we relax. We have a bit of chat on the stage. We can take the mick out of each other, which we do often. I always take the mick out of Frank. If he makes a mistake, I just make sure the public knows he made a mistake. So we do have lots of banter, and we have a format where we play lots of stuff around the hits. The hits all go in there along with the album tracks and EP tracks and B-sides that were popular in the 60s, and we throw in a few classics, that we, and some of the tributes to the artists we've actually played with in the past and toured with, like Del Shannon, Roy Orbison, the Everleys, Buddy Holly, all these people that we've toured with. We throw the odd song in, so it's a very big mixed bag, but we do like to make sure that the audience have a laugh and giggle, and they go out the door with a smile on their faces.
Which, as I say, I know they do. kind of over 50 years, there's obviously been lots of different musical styles and changes and things like that.
Yeah.
Has it changed your approach to the business with different styles and things, and obviously with the lineup of the band kind of changing with maybe Spencer obviously having kind of some hits in the 70s with First Class and things like that. Has that changed in time?
We try and keep it as close as possible to the sound of the records. But we do sometimes when we're doing the new song, we have a system where we try a new song out for a couple of weeks, and if the audience don't like it, then we drop it, because they paid their 20 quid and they deserve to be entertained. We're not going to sort of musically educate them, because the people who come and see us are not down there for that. So we try and throw the odd new song in. If it works, it stays in. If it doesn't work, out it goes.
Do you get to the break in the middle of the show and think, this audience needs something a bit different?
No, we can normally tell by the third or fourth song how the audience is going to go. You can tell, funny enough, from the moment of the first bars of our first hit, Sweet to My Sweet, you can tell the atmosphere is there.
Yeah, which is great. Tell me, going right back, obviously we've mentioned it's 50 plus years, kind of a long time.
Yeah.
What was it like in Liverpool in those days? I mean, really Liverpool for a few years in the early part of the 60s and into middle 60s was almost the centre of the universe.
Yeah, well, the late 50s were all the bands like skiffle bands, it wasn't the Beatles and Jerry and all those type of people, and basically you didn't really know what was happening. You just enjoyed the great music scene that we had, the live vibes, and also the amount of venues you could actually play in a night. And like most of the bands were crisscrossing Liverpool, doing Cavern, Iron Door, Latham Mall, Aintree Institute, all these venues, and basically everyone was enjoying their music, enjoying being young, enjoying the life of the ladies and all that kind of stuff. And basically and then you didn't realise what's going to happen until the Beatles suddenly were causing this commotion with the sort of crowds that were coming suddenly, where they were all dance halls. The Beatles actually stopped them dancing, which we thought was very odd. They stopped and watched, and then suddenly they were stopping and watching us, and we thought there's a change in there. And then when the Beatles had Love Me Do, and then Brian Epstein, I think the man who got the whole ball rolling, I mean, he opened the door for everybody. Epstein sort of signed the Beatles, and then Jerry, Silver Black, Billy J. Kramer, and suddenly he got his foot in the door down in London for records, and he got a Love Me Do out by the Beatles, and we thought, something's happening here. And then, of course, Beatles had their sort of small hit, Love Me Do, and we thought, we're going to miss the boat here. So basically we thought maybe Brian Epstein will sign us. In fact, he did come to see us, but we were on the Cavern on that night, and we were last on, and of course we were in the pub. So we didn't pass the test. And anyway, we made a demo disc, sent it round, and lucky enough, Tony Hatch had heard about us and requested could we come to the Pike Studios in Marble Arch and record Sweet to My Sweet.
That must have been, I mean, Tony Hatch, I mean, we talk about the influence of Brian Epstein at that time, but I mean, Tony Hatch was no mean name in the industry at that time either.
Well, funny enough, being young, we had no respect for people like that. We were just nervy and stuff. It's a bit like the Beatles, really. We were full of it, and we actually went down. We were on the way to the Star Club then. In those days, we used to get our bus down to the ferry down in Dover, and we'd go over and drive to Hamburg and stuff like that. On the way down, we nipped into Pike Studios, and we recorded a few tracks, which was one of them was Sweet to My Sweet.
And the rest, as they say.
Yeah. Well, we were lucky, really, because, as I say, they released it while we were away, which was a pain in the neck, because we had to buy ourselves out the contract in the end to come and promote it. And it was doing fairly well. I mean, records were selling. I mean, in those days, records sold 500,000, Yeah. You had to get about 250,000 to get into the charts in those days. And it was selling quite well, but it wasn't moving as quick as people thought it would. And then, of course, the famous thing happened. Somebody asked John Lennon what his favourite record was. And lo and behold, he said, the searches switched to my suite. And of course, that was the big key to our success. The door opened and it was number one within 2.5 weeks.
You get the impression sometimes, or maybe from certainly people like myself who weren't around at that time, I should say, but it was almost like a big family in Liverpool. Whether there were rivalries between the bands,
there was very good rivalries. And if you appeared with the Beatles and Jerry and the Cavern all-nighters, you'd try and go down the best, of course. But what was good about the whole scene was everybody. If you play with the Pacemakers, you play with the Beatles, and suddenly did a song. For example, Some Other Guy. Our ears would pick up and say, where did you get that, And of course they'd tell us and we'd do it, and vice versa. They'd say, if they had one of our songs, and where'd you get that, and we'd tell them, and they'd do it. I mean, everyone started doing their own versions of the same song, and Jerry would do a version of Some Other Guy, we'd do a different version, the Beatles would do a different version, but it was the same song, but everyone swapped songs. And so it was a good little repartee that was going on between all the bands, A rivalry, of course, but it wasn't like football rivalry, it was just friendly.
Good. And can I just, at that time, what were your musical influences then?
Mine go really back for my elder brother was in the Merchant Navy, and he was bringing all these country western records from New York, and they were my influences: Hank Williams and Hank Snow and Hank Thompson and Eddie Arnold and all these people, and I just listened to all them. Johnny Cash, of course. And then suddenly when electricity came on the market and people started buying electric guitars, and the Shadows and that type of thing started creeping in, and of course you had the explosion of 56 and Elvis and Fats Domino, Jerry Lee, Gene Vincent, all that gang, and of course we were listening to the guitarist soul behind them all, And that's when we started thinking electric.
It's fantastic. I mean, for my generation, it must have been a fantastic time to just experience music, because it was the birth of pop music. It
was great. I mean, the only trouble, they're so different now. I mean, you can go on YouTube or whatever, and you can learn a song in 2 minutes. Well, we used to put a 45 on, and we let it keep going round until you try and learn the song. It took you ages. So, everyone was listening to Cliff Gallup on the Gene Vincent records, playing guitar, and Scotty Moore with Elvis. So everybody was, listening to all the backing guitar players more than the lead singers,
It's great times, I'm sure.
Oh, it was fantastic. Yeah, especially when you play with them later on in your career. I played with Jerry Lee, Gene Vincent, Fats Domino, Ray Charles, the Everlys, on and on. Played with most of them. The only one I haven't played, in fact I didn't go and see him because I was working on the night, was Buddy Holly.
That would have been a name to have, wouldn't it?
Well, he was playing on the Philharmonic on 1958. It was a Thursday night, 20th of March, but I was working late, so I didn't get to see him. Which is a pain.
Yeah, a bit of a pain, yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. You mentioned you're going to New Zealand this year, and over the summer, and you're in Australia next year. I know you still go to Germany quite a lot, don't you?
Yeah, we're there in a couple of weeks in Lubeck, and then we're back again. Then we go do Bonn. So yeah, we do Germany. Not as much as we used to now, because they're into the 70s market in Germany now.
Right.
Like the Sweet and Slade and Shivody Body and Rubettes, all that type of bands there. So, but we do more. We used to do every weekend at one point. Now we don't seem to do as much.
Right, they're still 40 years behind us. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, basically, yes. But it's always been a fantastic live music territory.
What of all the places you've kind of performed, you tour in, what's your favourite?
I don't have any. I like the American side of it, but it's such a pain to go in and out of there. That's great. But I think the UK is fine. I think you can't beat the UK because it's our own market, and there's so many memories in England. We do so many dates, and when you go back to the cities, you remember them, and it really is weird. But I would say, the UK is the best market.
You're still doing a lot of travel. I was looking actually your itinerary for this week. You were in Bromsgrove last night.
No, Bromsgrove. We're in Bromsgrove tomorrow.
Tomorrow night, and then you're
we're in Crewe,
Darwin, and then Dunfermline.
Yep.
And then you're going to Airdrie.
Yep.
Do you do Airdrie a lot?
Yeah, we always do little runs up there. We were up there the other week, and we did we did a tour up there. And it's we love Scotland. I mean, I remember going there in the 60s. It was fantastic, and all the antique shops were great up in the 60s in those days. Used to go down to all the antique shops, and used to spend days and days up there.
Of course, Dunfermline, where we are, one of its claim to fame is that the famous dance hall year, which was the Kinema Ballroom way back then, actually refused to let the Beatles play.
Oh yeah, but we've had them. I mean, I remember we were touring Southern Hemisphere, and we were going. We were supposed to play Japan, and they wouldn't let us in because our hair was too long. They said, you have to cut your hair, and we said, what for? And in the end we said no, and they wouldn't let us in, so we actually flew on to Australia and had 2 weeks off.
Oh well, yeah, it's an ill wind, as they say.
Yeah, so but these silly things happen,
So John, you're here on Saturday in Dunfermline at Carnegie Hall. It must always be good being able to play. Say you've played Carnegie Hall.
Yeah, well, that's the old joke, isn't it?
Have you played the other one?
Yeah, practicing. I'm sure we have, We've done Madison Square Gardens, and we must have done the Carnegie. Yeah.
So, and I know that there are still some tickets left, and those are available from On at Fife, the On at Fife website, and so if anybody is interested, there are still tickets available.
Yeah, get out and see live music. You don't know what you're missing. You don't know what's going to happen.
As I say, I've seen you. I've seen the guys a few times, and it's always different. And I think that's the music, as you say, the hits will always be there, but every show is different, which I think is a great recommendation.
Well, we find even if it's for our own feeling and adrenaline, you've got to change it. You've got to keep doing things a bit slightly bit different, and that's what live music's all about. Just spontaneity, the whole thing. Yeah. And you can do even with the mistakes and stuff. And when you have a mistake, it's fun. And then people know it's live. You're not miming.
Which, as I say, I thoroughly enjoy it. I'll be there on Saturday, so I'll be cheering on from row K.
Good, thanks a lot.
I'll be expecting a wave. One final question, which I can tend to ask everybody: if you had one favourite Searchers song, which is it? Is that?
I think, regards being favourite, I think the most recorded song of our hits is Walk in the Room. Everyone from Bruce Springsteen to Johnny Logan to ABBA, they've all done Walk in the Room. And Paul Carrick, everybody's done Walk in the Room, and it's such a great 3-minute pop song. I think that would be I would recommend Walk in the Room, but there's some tracks that I really love because of the memories of actually recording it, and one is Goodbye My Love.
Right.
So it's different memories, you see. But Walk in the Room is the most. I mean, we close the show with Walk in the Room, and people just stand up. I
was going to say it always gets a phenomenal reaction.
And it's the guitar riff as well, which is like iconic.
Well, as I say, I'm going to reveal now my favourite, which I'm pleased to say the last time I think I saw you in Dunfermline, you did manage to play, which is Have You Ever Loved Somebody?
Oh yeah, well that's written by the Hollies.
Yeah, and I just think it's a great song, and it's even better live. So we're going to play out on that. John, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you for calling. Yeah, thanks very much. You caught me on the hop. I nearly forgot.
Well, look, enjoy the gigs in the run up, and as I say, we'll hopefully see you in Dunfermline on Saturday, and more power to your elbow. Let's hope that there's you keep going for another good number of years and a good party on Saturday night.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, John.
Get your tickets.
Cheers.
Thanks a lot.